Hey guys, Chris Murphy here. I want to do a video today on nostalgia and more or less tying this into enmeshment, why certain things can be more attractive from the past, whether it's music, whether it's movies, TV shows, certain things, maybe even friendships. Really looking back to the so-called good old days, which might have been in school or college or university, watching old sports clips, football team clips, yeah, watching the old sitcoms, movies, which could have been, some of the best movies of all time, best music that's been around. Um, but music that we watched in a certain or listened to in a certain period of time, maybe this music really reached out to us emotionally. Um, and just be aware of how this is keeping you trapped in the past. So, for those who suffer from enmeshment, probably more prone to it because it takes you back to the so-called good old days. And, if you're a guy who's enmeshed with his mother and felt quite trapped in, didn't do too well in relationships, and had this need to escape, and music or movies very much were times where perhaps felt very free, or certain music would have been listened to when traveling around, traveling the world, maybe living on their own, being in a university dormitory, and really having this sense of freedom. And now and again, you might just find yourself on YouTube watching some really old videos. And, all this is cool and it's good to reminisce in the old times sometimes, but being aware of how this can keep you in the enmeshment and to realize that childhood is over. Sometimes listening to certain music or just watching same movies over again and old shows, which are part of the past, is part of the rite of passage, is moving out of childhood into adulthood. And you might even go back and your parents will reminisce and say, oh, do you remember, got your put your old favorite music on, or a TV show you used to watch, or movies, and it straight away takes you back to being a child again. um so this is an important thing, and understanding what's happening in the subconscious as well. So you might listen to a lot of music which is from your nostalgic teenage years or childhood years, or when you're in school, university, reaching out to old friends again. Whereas sometimes even friendships may well have ended, but this maybe need to reach back out with people and reminisce about the good old days. Those good old days, yeah, of course they're good, but they weren't, is also coming out this stage of denial. They weren't always good, remembering that, particularly for enmeshed people, those days weren't very, very good, like not fitting in school, maybe not being good with the opposite sex, being on your own, or being in relationships which didn't fulfill you, friendships that didn't fulfill you. And we're looking back at all these memories. And the thing with nostalgia is keeping us trapped in the past, and it's time to move on. And if you look at the bigger picture as a society now as well, nostalgia is a big thing at the moment. You're seeing not much new music. The old bands are playing, old musicians are playing, and they're charging a lot of money for tickets. The bands are getting back together, releasing new music. And in a sense, it looks good, or they're bringing out new movies, they're remaking movies, and it's getting us caught in this nostalgia, and there seems to be still a demand for it. But as you can sort of see, it's not quite the same, and needing to move on. And so you want to be the one who breaks that curse. And it's not necessarily like you stop, and of course we've got good memories. It's probably made you who you are, part of your identity. Maybe you watch old sports teams clips, and you've got access to so much stuff in YouTube now, which makes it even harder, as we talked about with pornography as well. We never had this much access to just quickly stream a video. So it's harder. Like maybe many years ago, we'd have to go and find our old magazines to read old stuff that we'd read as children, or get a VHS tape out and put an old TV show on. But now you can just access everything on YouTube. So it's about compassion for yourself, but just keep catching yourself aware. And remember that you want to be moving on, you want to be cutting cords with the past. You know, certain music, just being aware of, and certain movies, you know, where is this playing out in your life? Is watching certain movies, maybe it's horror movies or movies where, you know, the rich people are the villains and the poor people are the innocent victims, you know, and all this stuff which probably goes into your subconscious mind. The lyrics of music you listen to, you know, I used to listen to a lot of like punk rock American music. When you listen to the lyrics, it can be quite quite happy, free music, but also talks a lot about you know, feeling down because the women have cheated on them, or relationships ended, and just sort of sulking about it. So being aware of all of these sort of things as well, and you know, with sports, maybe supporting the football team, you know, all these sort of things are out of your control. You know, part of moving into an adult is that you become in control of your life. You know, if you want to feel happy, you know, you have to do something for yourself that will make you feel happy, rather than gambling on something that's out of your control. So yeah, that's what I want to say about nostalgia, and it is part of enmeshment, that you want to stay back in the past, and you know, you were in this polarity of maybe feeling quite trapped and lost most of your life, but when you watched a movie, when you listened to music, when you were with certain friends, you perhaps felt very free, and that can be addictive. Whereas where we're going now into the future is that we want to be sort of in that kind of freedom the whole time, and you know, we're not stuck in our parents' house in your bedroom anymore. You might live by yourself, you might have your own family. So, and then you'll see with your next family, your children, they will then be repeating those same cycles. So it is about moving on. Remember, childhood is over, and just write down, just be aware of everything which you feel is a sort of form of nostalgia. And the feeling of nostalgia can be great, and it can bring back some good memories, but at the same time, we want to be creating new memories and be aware of where you're living in the past. So that's what I want to say today about nostalgia, and what I think is a link with enmeshment. And the more you can be aware and break out of this, the better. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and see everyone soon.